Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite waifus. Relationships in Persona basically amount to spending a ton of time with a person over the course of a month or two, confessing your feelings for them, and then not seeing them again outside of a handful of set date events, time slots where you have nothing else to do, or story moments if they're a major character. If you date a character like Oya, you can genuinely go about 6 months without seeing her, but still be considered an item. The games go out of their way to avoid referencing the MC's relationship status in the main story, and it often makes the relationships feel hollow. The reason for this, of course, is to avoid conflict that would arise in the event you're dating multiple girls at once. For example, in Persona 5, in one of the very rare instances of mandatory scenes acknowledging relationships, any girls in the party that you're dating react to whether or not you'd want to get married, but they're all quiet so no one else notices, because if you were dating two of them and they found out, your friendship with them would end. In P4, you have to reject all but one girl on Valentine's Day without explaining why, and they never bring it up again because the ending scene requires all the girls in the party to be on good terms with you. In P5, they don't find out until the game is basically over, and Sojiro talks them all around even if you're cheating on his daughter, because the ending scene requires all the girls in the party to be on good terms with Joker. The games bend over backwards to accommodate the player possibly cheating on his girlfriend, which I feel holds them back too much for the option to be worth including. So I'm going to lay out another way relationships could be approached in Persona to make them more meaningful, beginning with the total removal of the cheating system. In this version, you can date multiple girls over the course of the story, but not at the same time. This way, if a player is dating, say, Rise early on and then decides that Naoto is more their type, they can switch. But to do so, they need to go see Rise and spend a time slot to break up with her. This lowers the social link rank by a level or two, and benefits from those ranks are taken away. Combat benefits aren't lost, of course, because the narrative behind such a thing would be on par with a character in Mass Effect 2 not fighting to their fullest in the finale because Shepard didn't take their side in a debate once. Party members would go down less for the sake of cohesion, with them all being good friends in the main story. For this same reason, while they might have a comment about it, the girl you broke up with will have no problem with you dating another mutual friend, but maybe acknowledgement of the new relationship around the old partner is limited for a while, as if everyone's trying to make things less awkward. More mature characters like Kawakami will also go down only a little. Someone less mature or younger, however, will go down more ranks. This would mean more in a game with more non-party options your own age than P5 had. But the player is able to raise the ranks back up by spending time with them. Without needing to accommodate cheating, the game is now free to have the characters openly acknowledge the relationship, unless there's a need to keep it a secret like with Kawakami, but the writers can craft a scene where your friends find out anyway. To further help relationships along, the game can include more options for hanging out with friends or going on dates. When studying, you can invite others to join you instead of waiting for them to invite you. Taking whatever food-related challenge the game offers can be done with a friend, stuff like that. Your girlfriend will invite you on dates more often, with a small extra scene before or after where the two of you bump into a friend whose rank isn't ready to go up yet, allowing you to make some progress with them as well to make that time slot not an objective waste of time. Overall, the aim is to give the player more opportunities to spend time with friends in general, but specifically their love interests, so that the relationship feels more legitimate, but without forcing the player to lose a time slot that could be better spent working on other S-links, raising social stats, or exploring dungeons. And then, we have main story acknowledgement of S-link progress. Instead of having S-links be cordoned off to an alternate dimension that has no impact on the main story, creating two very different versions of the same character as if this was Yakuza 0's Hostess minigame with Yuki, little moments are added where a character responds differently based on how far their personal story has progressed. Some are small, like if Fuka or Futaba's confidence in something they need to do changes depending on whether or not they've reached a certain rank. Ryuji can be more confident in his ability to make the run in Shido's palace based on whether or not he's reached a certain rank. I'd also add some post-battle dialogue for every time a party member debuts their new persona, so the others can actually acknowledge their friend's progress. The romance side of this comes in all sorts of flavours, like them standing or sitting next to the MC during most dialogue scenes since positions typically don't matter, reacting more hesitantly if the MC has to do something dangerous, having alternate lines when praising or otherwise commenting on the actions of the MC, and of course they have unique dialogue in the scene where the MC returns home if that plot point is used again. If the character is in the party, they get certain gameplay benefits, like a temporary buff when the MC enters low health, a higher chance of taking a mortal blow for the MC, boosting the MC's abilities a little when they're in the active party, and more so when they're incapacitated. Really present them as a warrior couple, you know? This also affects characters who canonically crush on the protagonist, like Rise. It's ridiculous that you can be dating, say, Yukiko, but she won't have a problem with Rise clinging all over you like she owns him. At a certain point, even if she wanted to keep it secret, Yu's girlfriend would take Rise aside and say, hey, you and I are dating and you clinging to him like this is making me and him uncomfortable. So if Yu rejects her, she should stop clinging to him like she does. Or it should at least lead to a confrontation. It really weakens the integrity of the characterization, you know? And just a small thing, their bedroom should appear in the main game even if it's not necessary for the main story. Spending Christmas or Valentine's at their place would be more meaningful for the player than if it's just in the same room you see damn near every in-game day. Now let's address the spin-offs and sequels. First, party members tend to use their base personas even in stories set after they should have awoken to newer ones. Like, I get that the second and third personas aren't as iconic and tend to actually look pretty bad by comparison, but ignoring them ignores what they represent, the development of the characters. It's only by accepting their weaknesses and resolving to improve themselves through their social link stories or the main plot in P3 that they can get these personas. Using base personas without a story explanation suggests they haven't completed their arc and are still struggling with whatever troubles their respective protagonists were supposed to help them through. And that's really depressing, especially with the likes of Naoto, Kanji and Futaba. It's on the same level as Advent Children ignoring Cloud's development in FF7 and making him emo because it was trendy. These characters deserve better. As for non-party confidants, a general issue with non-mainline entries in this series is the way they totally ignore all your non-party friends, unless they're essential characters like Dojima, Nanako, Sojiro or Sai. Yu's other friends also come to see him off when he goes home, but he never mentions stopping in to see them in any of the 3 times we know him to return to Inaba. P5 Strikers at least has Joker try to visit Tai and Iwai, but they're both away. But why does he not turn to Mishima or Oya for help gathering info on targets, speak to Kawakami when investigating a former Shujin student, or have Iwai and Tai still be the ones providing the goods but with Sophie arranging the delivery? The least they could have done is had confidants text Joker once the Phantom Thieves announced their return. As for how this affects romances, I despise that canonically none of the protagonists have love interests. It's not that they don't have a canonical love interest, that's a different matter and I get why that would be done, to not invalidate anyone's playthrough or choice of waifu by setting a canonical one. But that still happens when the spin-offs go out of their way to make the protagonist still single. At most, Joker can say he has a girlfriend in the dancing game, but he can't say who. Video games are an interactive medium. They have the ability to be customized to suit the player. So why can't we get a prompt at the start of a spin-off asking who the protagonist dated? It could even be integrated into the story by having Sojiro tease Joker about meeting up with his girl since he knows who she is from Valentine's Day, or having the Velvet Room attendant bring it up, allowing the player to choose from a list at that point. It doesn't have to be a huge thing and I'd even accept only party members being options, but it could add just that nice little touch to your experience. For my first playthroughs of both versions of P5, I dated Kawakami exclusively, so it's hard to feel like I'm playing a sequel to either of those in Strikers when the game doesn't even mention her once to my recollection. It's like when Mass Effect 3 fucked up importing my ME2 save and I couldn't use the same face I'd used for the past 2 games and had to finish the story with Default Shepard who had hijacked James Shepard's history. But imagine if Persona spin-offs did do this. Maybe you could tell Ryuji and Mona who you're dating and get a unique reaction for each option. Maybe the dancing games could add a dance designed for the MC and his girlfriend, maybe even with non-party confidants. On a side note, let Nanako dance with Dojima, Futaba with Sojiro, and Makoto with Sai. Do it, cowards. Maybe if you dated Tai, Morgana could say that she texted Joker a few days before Strikers about her conference, so they already know she's not available, negating the need to head to the clinic. The Ferris wheel scenes could be openly romantic instead of just teasing a relationship the game won't actually let you pursue or continue. Maybe if you're dating a party member, she could speak up on your behalf in the trash that is the hot spring scene. God, do I need to cover those scenes too? Again, they don't have to be anything big, but just small references, texts or calls, and the ability to tell your friends who you're dating would go a long way towards adding more cohesion between the main game and its continuations that is currently lacking outside of references to the main plot. And for the love of God, Atlas, stop giving spin-off and expansion characters so much of a push that they overshadow the core cast. Yoshizawa is painfully intrusive, I don't want Marie's chocolate or her fucking attitude after spending Valentine's Day with Yu's girlfriend, and Nanako calling Kanami big sis after like a day when she doesn't call any of the other girls that after a year is the most offensive thing in Dancing All Night. Koei and Arxis can find the right balance, so why can't you? If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is Rambling About Persona Relationships and Character Archetypes by Feather. Feather? It's another discussion of this problem, and he does plenty of other Persona content that you might like.